can do. It's just different training for a different scent. The thing with the dogs, they're able to accurately search, and that's an important word, accurately search. Over 120, 150 rooms when you've got a good layout, so straight corridors, empty rooms, or customers that aren't in the rooms. So a hotel with 120 rooms, that's going to take one dog for the best part of an afternoon to search. 120 rooms, if you're trying to do that visually, forget it. You're not going to be able to do that. The dogs are only going to alert on live bugs or viable eggs. So if you've been treating a property, an establishment, and you keep getting negative results, they keep saying that the treatment's not working, you need to come back, you need to come back, you need to come back. Get the dogs in, and the dogs are going to be able to tell you if it's worked or not, because the dogs only alert on live bugs. We train them to not alert on dead bugs. It's a very simple way of doing it. So once we've done the search for you, or for your customer, we can then offer heat treatment to eradicate all the bugs and their eggs, which means instead of a sort of 5-week, 4 or 5-week repeated treatments, waiting periods of time when your customers are likely to get bitten. So if that's a hotel, that's 4 or 5 weeks of lost revenue. Going with the heat system, and the following day they've got a room that's clear of bed bugs and any other creepy crawlies as well. Sorry. And with the heat treatment, we can do 1 to 25. Sorry, new little gadget, not used to it. We can do 1 to 25 rooms a day. So if you've got one room on the 5th floor, we can do that. If you've got 10 rooms spread around the hotel, we can do that. And we were always discreet. The most livery, the most signage we ever wear is when we're at these places, and it's that none of our vehicles are marked, none of our uniforms, they're just plain black polo shirts and either jeans or plain black cargo trousers. So your customer can either know that we're an independent of your company, or we can go in as your company. If you want to provide t-shirts, if you can get one to fit me, we'll wear your t-shirts. If you want us just to go in plain clothes, even the treatment vehicle, the big vans and trailers that we use, don't have livery on them, they're not sign written, so it's always discreet. And if you're dealing with hotels, dealing with old people's homes, that's really important to them, because it's their reputation. They don't want to broadcast the fact that they've got a bedbug problem, so we're always discreet for them and for you, which is quite important. So quick background into what bedbugs are, you'll probably know anyway. Simons lectularius, the adult is about 5 to 6 mil long. Best way of describing it, I find, is same size and shape as an apple pick. The feeding cycle, they're going to feed every 7 to 10 days, and that's dependent on temperature. It's also dependent on the availability of food. They track us through carbon dioxide. If the carbon dioxide's there, they'll come out. If it's not, they won't. So going back to your hotels, if they're keeping their room empty for 30 days, which is best practice, so they're not putting their customers in harm's way, effectively, the bugs aren't going to come out, they're not going to cross the chemicals that you've put down. It's catch-22. They can't rent the rooms out because they'll leave themselves open to bad press and potential lawsuits, but they're not going to get rid of the problem without having someone in there, so that's where the heat comes in. They only feed on blood. Now, from the tests and experiments that we've done, and it's all a little bit weird and creepy, but they won't feed on blood that's outside the body. They need to draw it themselves. So if you were to put an open wound, they're not going to feed off an open wound. They need to puncture the skin for their feeding systems to get in line. The 6 stages of growth called instar stages, and they take place roughly after every blood feed. So they feed from nymphs, they feed, they stretch, the body splits, they crawl out, leave an empty case, which we've all seen, the body hardens, and they go on to the next one. They hide away for 7 to 10 days while they process that feed, come out, feed again. So if there's 6 stages of growth from nymph, from egg through to adult, and they're feeding every 7 to 10 days, that's 7 to 10 weeks. Well, that's 6 to 8 weeks when you're going to have the stages before you get multiple adults. Sorry. The ideal temperature for them, as you can see, is 19 to 30 degrees. Below 19 degrees, they start slowing down. So that means they're going to feed slightly less regularly, so they're not going to be coming out and crossing your chemical as often as they should. Over 30 degrees, it starts to become uncomfortable for them, and they're feeding more regularly, so they're using more food, more calories, they're coming out more often, and they're exposing themselves to predation more. And 30% of the problem, or 30% of people in the world don't actually react to bed bugs or to the bites from the bed bugs. So if you're relying on reported bed bug incidents to treat a room, and you've got someone that's not reacting to it, you're not going to know about it. So if you're treating the other rooms and leaving that one, you're never ever going to get rid of it, because it's just going to keep coming back from that one room, which in fairness, the person doesn't even know they're being bitten. Some people react after a while, so they'll be getting bitten for a while, and then the level of bugs increases and increases, and it's as though the body says, look, enough's enough. I'm letting you know that I've been bitten, because we get jobs where we get called in and say, oh, I started getting bitten on Saturday, and you go out not expecting to find anything, and you lift the bed up and the mattress is moving around on its own because it's absolutely crawling. The only reason for that is they're either lying and they've known about it for a long time, or they have only just started reacting to it. But if they've just started reacting to it and they're getting lots of bites straight away, that's a pretty sure sign that they didn't react and their bodies have said enough's enough. So the eggs, I don't know if you can see, just above that 5-pence piece there, there's two tiny little white eggs. If you look at them under a microscope, they look sort of like an old-fashioned milk bowl. They're about a millimetre long. They can be seen with a naked eye because they're generally laid in clusters. They're sticky when they're first laid. That sticky coating is like an epoxy resin that goes off quite quickly. So wherever it drops, it quite quickly dries. That sticky coating dries up, and then it adheres to the surface. I've seen bed bugs walking around under a microscope and they've got an egg stuck to the top of their head, where the bug's walked over it, laid an egg as it's going, and that egg's hardened, and the bug's walking around with it, oblivious. So people always say, oh, what if I picked up eggs? What if I picked up eggs? They're sticky. They are sticky at the start, but if you brush past it and brush it off, that stickiness has already dried up, so it's not really going to stick to stuff. I've been doing it for just over 4 years now, and I've never taken them home with me. Touch wood, because my wife would kill me for that. And the eggs take 18 days to hatch. So if you go in and chemically treat, the bugs that are hidden away and haven't been touched by your chemical are going to be laying eggs every day. They lay 3 to 5 eggs a day, and the eggs take 18 days to hatch. So you've either got to have a chemical that's going to outlast that 18 days, or you've got to keep going back, or you use heat, because the heat kills the... Right, so visual inspection, we've all done them, or most of us will have done them, cause a lot of disruption to the customer. You've got to turn beds upside down, you've got to potentially take the canvas bottoms off the van beds and off sofas, and you're looking at sort of 20 to 40 minutes average. Who's done a visual bedbug search? About 20 to 40 minutes is a reasonable time to expect to spend on a bedbug search. Like I say, there's a lot of room preparation, and environmental factors are going to affect how successful you are with your search. If they just cleaned, they may have taken away the evidence you're looking for, and people often will do a deep clean to try and get rid of whatever's biting them. So they've taken that away, or they've got a new bed, they've taken away the evidence that you need to be able to treat. And the success of early detection, particularly for that first 4 to 6 weeks, you're looking for one adult and a few nymphs and a few eggs. There's very little physical evidence to find at that early stage, so it's largely down to luck. And you've got no way to confirm that your treatment that you carried out has been successful, because the treatment that you laid down, or the evidence that you saw to treat in the first place, is still going to be there after you've treated. There might be 1 or 2 new spots of fecal matter, but how do you prove that that was before all the bugs died? You simply can't. So this is just a quick guide. Most of the bedbug activity, 70%, is going to be near the bed, because that's where the only food source for the bugs is. They don't feed on rubbish, they don't feed on dead skin, they don't feed on anything apart from blood. And like I say, they have to draw that blood direct from the source. So they're going to want to stay close to the food source, because the more distance they're moving, the more calories they're using, the more exposed they are to predation, because things will eat them and everything else will squash them because they're bloody horrible. So just because sort of up here on the ceiling it says it's only 7% chance you'll find it there, I've done visual searches where I've found nothing in the rest of the room, and purely by chance I've noticed on the windowsill or the door frame a little bit of fecal matter, and that's because bedbugs follow a genetic predisposition. Wherever the initial bug was successful, so wherever that initial bug that started the infestation was successfully able to lay eggs and continue the species, all the other bugs, because they're all descended from that one, will all follow a similar sort of pattern. So you've probably seen it. We certainly notice it because it's all we do. If you find bedbugs in a screw hole on a bed, if you go to the next room and turn the bed upside down, the first place you look is the screw holes, because the bugs are going to want to be in the similar sort of environment that they were born and they were successfully raised. So yes, that's a good guide, but it's not the be all and end all of it. So that's just, I don't know why you can see this. Can you see that all right at the back? Yeah? Cool. Claire, can you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Bring them up here to give you a hand.
Is the light? Oh, there we go.
Is that better? Can you all see what I'm on about? Yeah. Right. So this is the same room. It was a hotel room in London. Nice and neat. 40 minutes later, everything was upside down. Everything was in turmoil. So, yeah. So you leave after 40 minutes, they've still got 20 minutes, half an hour work to put the room back to be able to put out to their next set of customers. So it's time consuming, it's intensive and it's disruptive. So what's the alternative? Well, the alternative is a canine detection, and it's intentional that that's visual inspection and that says canine detection, because you're expecting to find it, the dogs will detect it. There's very little preparation that they have to do. So an average hotel room is going to take about a minute for a dog to search an average size hotel room. That's going to give you about 90+% accuracy. All the preparation is make sure the windows are closed so you've got minimal air disruption, no air conditioning. We've already asked you questions about have they had chemical treatments in the prior 30 days, and you're just making sure there's nothing that's going to hurt the dog or the dog can knock over and break. So it's minimal, like I said, 2 to 3 minutes is quite a big hotel room in fairness. The dogs tear around to get at bugs. And the good thing is it will detect 1 or 2 bugs. Alpha, who will be meeting later on, will pick up on 1 or 2 bugs in a vial. We do it in training all the time. Put 1 bug in a vial, and we do what we call blind testing, where one of my colleagues will put the vial out so I don't know where it is, and then take the dog into the room, do the search, and he'll pick up on 1 bug. So he's picked up on people's luggage that's just been put in a hotel room, or people's luggage that they've brought back from a hotel. That's very, very small concentrations of scent for a dog to find. And like I say, they're way more accurate than we can ever hope to be. The best you can say when you're doing a visual search, or the best I think you should be saying when you're doing a visual search is, I can't find any visible evidence. That doesn't mean that they're not there, it just means we can't see, as pest controllers, we can't see any evidence. So can we treat on that? Not really. With the dogs are going to pick up on it, and the dogs' noses are so much more sensitive than us. They can pick them up from behind skirting boards, down that crack along the edge of the skirting board and the carpet. You're not going to see anything down there. The dogs are going to pick up on it. The dogs will pick up if the bugs are behind a fitted wardrobe. As long as that scent's moving with the air and pulling, the dogs are going to pick up on it. And that's the same hotel room before and after a dog search. The most a hotel will ever have to do after a dog search is make the bed again where the dog's jumped up onto the bed. Generally, we don't let the dog onto the bed. We walk around the bed, push the bed out of the way so he can get down the back of it. If he shows a lot of interest at that point, we'll let him up onto the bed to investigate further. But generally, they don't have to do anything. We can do well the customers in the room. Because we're discreet, because we're not wearing branded clothing, we just say it's part of the hotel's health and commitment to health and safety. And people are generally happy to see a dog anyway. So chemical treatment, I've talked a little bit about it. If you're looking at hotels, they've got 4 weeks loss of income. They should have 4 weeks loss of income because they shouldn't be renting that room out while there's bugs there. If they're renting a room out and they know that there's insects there, they're leaving themselves wide open to being sued. If you go on Google, there's 4 or 5 companies that are offering no win, no fee on bedbug compensation claims, which is ridiculous, but it's there. If it's a domestic customer or an old people's home or something, the residents, the customers got to expect that they're potentially going to get bitten for up to a month as bugs are coming out and crossing over the chemical we've been putting down to get to the food. And you might need more treatment. You might have to go back, depending on what chemical you're using. If you're using something that's only got a very short operating lifespan, you're going to have to go back every week, every 2 weeks to top that treatment up. If you're using something that's got a better residual effect, you still might have to go back and top it up if there's that many bugs they're using up all the chemical. And if you've got to do that, if you've told someone we're going to get rid of them, and you've got to go back and retreat, it's very, very disappointing for the customer and they can rapidly lose confidence in you. So the other option is heat eradication. And it is eradication because it kills all stages. That room back same day is a hotel room. Hotel rooms are generally quite empty, generally quite spartan. They've got a bed, maybe a chest of drawers, maybe a wardrobe, maybe a TV. There's not the density of belongings that you get in a domestic property. You haven't got personal clutter. So we can do it where we start 8 in the morning and finish at 6 for a hotel. That's our standard time. If we're doing a domestic property, we go from 8 in the morning till 8 the following morning to get the heat penetration through all the clothes, through all the books, behind the wardrobe, through the rest of it, that you're not going to get in that short space of time. It kills all stages of insect life. It kills all insects. There's no insect can control its body temperature. The one exception to that is cockroaches. It's not that they can't control the body temperature, well they can control the body temperature. They move too fast and they will find a way out of it. I know someone's done heat treatment before and they actually saw a line of cockroaches outside the window waiting to go back into the kitchen when the heat went. So don't use it for cockroaches. If you take the temperature up to 65 degrees and hold it at 65 degrees for 5 hours, that room is then technically sanitised or sterilised because 65 degrees is the temperature you're going to start serving chicken at because it kills bacteria. They do these treatments in America quite a lot in hotels and actually sell the rooms at $50 to $100 extra a night as a sanitised room. Like I said, there's no more bites. If you're not getting bites, you're not getting the negative publicity. And it's clean, dry heat, so you've not got the wet flame that you get from propane systems or naked propane systems. You've not got external air being pumped into the room, which can cause damage. The heat, like I said, 4 to 6 hours between 50 to 65 degrees is going to kill all stages and eggs. This is just an example. This is the van. This is our van. We've got safety ramps for the pipes to come into the building, and then this this is the heat exchanger, which is effectively a car radiator with a fan in front of it that draws the air through the radiator, heats the air up, and then it's the air inside the inside the room that's actually going to heat all the stuff up in the room, and that's what kills it. So I've talked enough, I think. I'm sure you all agree. I'm going to do a demonstration now with Alfie, who's reading away at the back there. He's a 3.5-year-old English Springer. He's been working for the last couple of years, a little bit longer. Like I said, it will only detect live bed bugs and viable eggs, and he can do 150 rooms plus a day. We have taken him up to 200 rooms in a day, but that was an empty university hall for residents. And quite importantly, he's ball rewarded. So if you've got 150 rooms and you're food rewarding your dog, and you've got 50 rooms, by the time you've got to 25 rooms, you've got a dog that's bored. It isn't searching properly because they don't want that reward anymore. With the ball, he never gets satisfied. You can give him the ball, he'll destroy it, and then give him the ball, he'll destroy it one another way. You can throw, we're doing that advert for the injury for you lawyers when the van swings around and all the balls fall out the back of it. It's his idea of heaven. Right, so without further waffling, I'm going to get Claire to bring Alfie down. Yeah. Get Alfie down. Is there anyone that doesn't like dogs? Is there anyone that's scared of dogs? Because somewhere out there there's... Is there anyone that's scared of bed bugs? Because somewhere out there there's some bed bugs. So when you did it... Has anyone got fluffy shoes on for the league? Yeah. I'm not coming through all the rows, so don't stress. If he alerts on anyone, do you want to know? But this isn't ideal conditions for doing a dog search. There's lots of people, lots of distractions. Claire, just put everyone on the horse.
Yeah.
So I know where it is.
It's there.
So you can see that it's there, but I can let go now. He's not going to go anywhere because he's waiting for his reward. Yeah. See, I thought he was back there. Shows how good I am. But I didn't reward him even though I knew it was there. I was trying to give him the best chance possible of finding it, but he didn't want to know because the scent wasn't there for him. As soon as we came down to this chair,
That can just stand still and
yeah.
say something.
Yeah. He's looking at me. How's my reward? This is impossible. This is his reward. He just wants to play with the ball all the time. Right, so that's the end of it. You'll be pleased to hear. If you've got any questions, now's the time, or you can come down and see us on stand 2. Has anyone got any questions?
It's a heat thing, is that water that's pumped up from the van?
It's glycol, but yeah, it's effectively a water solution pumped up through from the van. It's a diesel boiler inside the van with an electric pump that pumps it up through the system into the building and then through the radiators and back. And it's a pain in the neck to set up, and it's even worse to pack down because you're packing down in sort of 65-degree temperatures.
Yeah.
By the time you pack down, it takes maybe an hour, 2 hours to pack down, and the rooms are still going to be over 50 degrees.
There the whole time.
Yeah, we have some. If we're doing an overnight job, we have a technician there 24 hours because the property's either open or vulnerable if we've had to go through a window or through a door. So we always have someone there 24/7, or 24/7, we don't take 7 days, but we have someone there the whole time. If they're not in the van, keeping on the system, they're inside the property, making sure that you're not getting any excessive heat, you're not got any cold spots, because obviously if you put a mattress up against the wall, where it's resting on the floor, it's going to be insulated, and bugs will always follow the thermal gradient to find the coolest spot.
Yeah.
So they can. So sometimes we'll turn a sofa,
So you go in and move stuff around.
go in, move stuff around, check the heat with the infrared thermometer, and just make sure we've got everywhere up over 50 degrees. The magic number is 46 degrees. 46 degrees is the point where bed bugs start to die. All insects are around sort of 44 to 48.
Yeah.
Wasps that attack beehives, bees congregate around here and vibrate their bodies to generate heat and kill the wasp. So it's the same principle, but it's industrial scale.
How long does it take to train a dog like that?
Generally, it's about, once you've found a dog that's got the temperament for it, it's got the aptitude for it, you're looking at about 6 months basic training, and the chap that trains our dogs for us, his main business, because obviously we didn't give him that much business because we don't need that many dogs, but his main business is drugs dogs and explosives dogs. Last time I spoke to him about a month or so ago, he had 17 dogs in Afghanistan in different countries. He doesn't just do British. He's got a contract with the Norwegian border agency to supply drugs dogs and stuff for them. So he's what he doesn't know about dogs and dog training, you might find out bother knowing. And then so it's 6 months basic training, then we get them back and we do a month's intensive training where we do sort of 4, 5, 6 hours a day, 5 days a week training to get them from knowing what the scent is and doing an alert to being able to alert on one bug. We then do 2 weeks where they go out on jobs with a partner dog. So rather than just letting an unverified dog loose, and depending on that, we have a second dog just to verify that he's given the right information, and then the dogs are all fun around. Quickly, because I'm getting dirty looks around sides, I'm eating up at someone else's time.
You mentioned about cockroaches being too quick and getting away before it eats up. What's the situation with like pheromones and heat treatments?
Honest answer is I don't know. Like I say, with bedbug specialists, the principle and theory is fine, and it should work with them, but I don't know enough about pharaoh ants or any ants to be able to give you an honest answer. Okay, thanks very much for your attention.